Last weekend, I flew home to Virginia. I grew up in a very rural part of Virginia to see my mom for her birthday and surprise her, which was just awesome. And one of the things when I get to go home is I connect with, I have a mentor. I have a bunch of mentors, one of my most supreme mentors. And I get together and we always have a jam. He's a musician, but he was also a furniture mogul. I went to high school with his daughter, and she was having a party one time, and I met her father and we fell in love. And this was like 25 years ago. And he kind of took me under his wing as a young musician and also as a young business person. And we've spent holidays together ever since. And what I was going to share to start the day off is he gave me this just great wisdom in that he just sold all of his companies, which he had quite a few of, and he's kind of at a different phase in his universe right now. And he was reminiscing as someone at the end of his career about the most impactful thing in his career, which, he had a bunch of companies, he had a bunch of furniture stores, he did really well for himself, he was a signed artist, really a dynamic human being. But he was kind of mapping out the people that he had worked with and that had worked for him, people he'd given a chance to, people he had taught basic life skills like how to sell something. He was reflecting on his time opening up these furniture stores and teaching this family tradition of selling furniture. And then looking 40 years ahead at what these people had become with the skills that they had used or had learned from him. And he was just really, we were waxing poetic just about all the work that all of us do, which is helping other people, teaching people, coaching people, running businesses. At the end of our careers, what we'll look back at is people will come up to us and they'll say, Angie, do you remember that one time in lessons when you said this thing? And you have no idea what they're talking about. It was like you talking about something about how you hang out with your child or something, right? And they're like, that was just so impactful to me and it like really changed my life. And he was cataloging these over the course of a conversation. And of course, there's all these moments that as teachers, as guides, as coaches, as business owners, that they're really meaningful later on. And it was so cool. And, and I'm sure you guys have all experienced that with people you've worked with that have, had great successes or come back to you and said, oh, remember that one time you said this and you don't remember saying it because it was totally inconsequential to you. So anyway, that was a really nice thing. And it was a really cool kind of shot in the arm about all the work that we're doing as teachers and coaches and guides. And so that's what I have to bring this week was a great positive experience with a mentor, which if you guys don't have one, I highly encourage. I have a very close friend in every decade of their life, 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s. And those mentors that have been through what we're doing are so valuable and so cool to connect with. So, Andrea, do you want to just jump in and maybe take a second and tell us about yourself and what you're doing and your podcast and your world? I'd love to hear. I'm just interested.
Okay. So I'm Andrea Miller. I'm a piano teacher in St. Louis. And I also have a podcast called Music Studio Startup that focuses on entrepreneurship for music teachers, whether it's building a sustainable private studio or a music school. I am kind of in a bit of a transition in my life right now. I had lived in Maryland for about 6 years in the DC area, and that's where I started the podcast. And then in the last year, we returned to St. Louis. St. Louis is home for me. But did all the stressful life changes, sold a house, bought a house, had a baby. I was helping another friend run a coffee and gelato shop. I did that for 8 months. That had kind of gotten derailed. And they needed a kind of interim manager to get it back on track. So I'm just kind of like getting back into normal now. What does podcasting, teaching look like with an 8-month-old now? And but my focus this year is really on helping teachers build sustainable studios. And with that, my current project is putting together a finance course for teachers to really take their vision, because we've got huge visions, we're creative people, and putting numbers behind that so like those visions can actually get realized instead of running ourselves into the ground financially. So that's kind of what my current project is.
It's a numbers based thing? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, kind of. I have a degree in entrepreneurship, so my background is very like formal business education, and I try to bring that to the music teacher space because I want a teacher to be able to take this financial plan that they put together and bring it to the bank and say, here are my financial statements. I need a loan, or present it to an investor or a business plan competition or something like that. So I take a pretty formal approach and use like business words, but explain it in ways that make it sensible and meaningful to music teachers.
Well, and they just need to know them, right?
And they just need to know them. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
it's the language we speak.
You need to know it. If you're going to do it, if you're going to feed yourself, if you're going to buy a house and have a kid, whatever it is you're going to do, you got to know those words, right? Yeah. I remember thinking how uncool it was to even think about business, right? And I was like, man, that is just that's if you have a trust fund, you don't have to think about it. But if you don't, you got to think about it. So I love. I was lucky enough to come on your podcast, and I just think it's awesome. I love listening to it. Please share it in the comments. Sure. And then after this is done, we'll wrap it all up and we'll post it for everybody else to see that can't be here. But, for instance, Lenny's just starting a school in Florida. And so I'm sure, and he's also got a great business background. So,
awesome.
Yeah, it might be some kind of neat overlap there. So and I think Cori's getting ready to perhaps make a move. And you're such a positive and inspirational source for a lot of people. So good to have you back. You don't look nearly tired enough for someone with an 8-month-old, though. I'm just going to say it.
Well, now I feel like I'm on a break because I'm done with the coffee shop, and that was like 5:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. And then the baby did the 11 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. shift. So yeah.
Wow. Well, welcome back. And when's your course going to be out?
February sometime. I'm kind of taking pre-registration. I have an interest form up on my website. It's musicstudiostartup.com/finance for that interest form. I've got some beta testers going through it right now. I'm looking for feedback from teachers and also like business people. So February-ish.
Is most of the guts of that, and this like the operations for the school itself or for the studio itself, or is it like more all-encompassing, like, because I guess a great question to just grab and maybe even discuss is like when you look at the finance of the overall picture of a business like that, are you looking at like creating budgets for marketing, or are you just thinking about like keeping the lights on? And
well, it can be both. So kind of the approach I've taken is the part of the course is really a template, a financial template, and it breaks down, like takes every aspect of the business. So you've got marketing, you've got furniture you've got to buy, you've got employees you have to pay perhaps. So it takes just each of those lines of expenses that your business will experience, and there's one page where you just fill in marketing is going to be $100 a month or $500 a month or whatever, depending on the scale. And then you put in your other assumptions, like what the average tuition is going to be per month and how many students you'll have. It's actually mapped month by month. So if you've got a growing studio, you could start from 5 students and then the next month you have 10 or whatever. So you just put in those numbers, those assumptions, and then the template generates the financial statements. And then I walk you through how to interpret the financial statements. So if you are showing a loss in your income statement, what does that mean and how do you address it? Because maybe you need more students, but maybe you need to cut expenses. And there are different ways, like a negative number isn't always a terrible thing on an income statement. Sometimes it happens. So I teach you how to interpret the statements and then what to do with it. So and the income statement, the balance sheet, and then the cash flow, my favorite.
So you'll basically be able to create a P&L from doing this? Yeah.
Projections for that.
Awesome. And does it change over time? Is it like a template you've made, like a spreadsheet type thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, I got to hear more about this. Well, okay. Awesome. And if anybody has any questions or anything for anybody, go ahead and type in the chat or just jump in. Thanks for sharing that, Andrea. Hey, Lenny, you want to give us a quick heads up where you are while we kind of just...
Sure. I don't know how quick it'll be, but Yeah, as I was mentioning to you, I got sick and lost some time, so I'm really just trying to get my momentum and pace back going. But very focused on creating content, writing some more educational themed articles for my blog launch, and working on some different video lessons for the guitar. And I think I'm cruising pretty good, with that. So I don't really need to take up a lot of time. I don't have a lot of questions about, my journey of getting my content and my YouTube page launched and all those things, my blog. But once I get everything going, I would love everyone's feedback and, love everyone to take a look what I'm doing and help me improve. But I think really things maybe that I could throw out there that could get some response today would be, I'm looking to get some traction locally, and I know that's the name of the game. Clearly 90% of it is up to me to get out there and hand out business cards and meet people and talk about what I'm doing. But I really want to have an effective strategy digitally and wherever else I can. Online directories like lessons.com, things like that just kind of seem to be like really not very impactful. I keep hearing people talk about like mom and dad groups and Facebook pages and things like that. So I think more than anything, I'd love to kind of discover some of those things that you guys probably know about of, where can I go and find a teaching page that I can add my school to that mom and dads locally are going to see, or, what are some of the great things that you guys do just to get out there? I mean, you can get out and shake hands and hand out business cards, but to me, that's not really a strategy. It's just hustle. So I'm looking for the things that are going to connect me with people right here, like 20 miles from where I'm at. So that's kind of, I think, the things that I'm more curious about and thinking about this week, that I want to do that before I get out and start just driving around and meeting people. I want to have a strategy. I want to be targeted. I want to reach large groups of people. I don't think I'm really ready yet because I'm at the beginning to do like an email campaign or anything like that. I don't want to do too much in advertising because I think it's not going to get me where I need to go in the long run right now. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at as far as, reaching out to my friends and hoping that things come up in the group this week.
So Lenny, that's awesome. And so for everybody else, Lenny's starting a school in Florida. He was trying to get 5 students and trying to build from that. He's got great energy. And Lenny, it sounds like you're doing a lot of stuff, and maybe this would be a quick moment to just kind of open the floor a little bit, talking about, because what you just mentioned was about 25 different strategies, right? And what you don't want to do. That you want to be local, right? You want to attract people near you. You're working on a blog, a YouTube channel. You're putting a lot of work into it. And maybe it'd be a good moment to just kind of ask people what they're doing for content, right? How you can make locally relevant and viable content. But for sure, like stuff like Thumbtack and lessons.com are going to be really difficult to get good leads from, right? And quality leads. I think it also might be worth mentioning that, because I've talked with you before, Angie, if you didn't listen to last week's, you should check it out and go to when she was talking, which was quite a bit of it. But she really talked a lot about niche in her school. She runs a really successful school in Idaho. She does adults, right? And she has figured out a way to attract the adult community. She's not interested in teaching young people. Young people come in and want to rock. She sends them to another really great school in her community. I mean, Angie, I really loved everything you said last time. And knowing that niche has brought her a great amount of happiness and success in her business, which is going to be a different marketing strategy. Like if you're wanting to do adults that are wanting to do, which is a great market, right? It might really connect with you. If you're wanting to do that, that would be a different thing than going to next door to the parents groups, right? And it might, it's something worth checking out, that recording from last week, thinking about it and be like, okay, where am I focusing my efforts to create locally viable content? Angie, do you want to maybe hop in and just take a moment and talk a little about your experience about how you're finding people? Lenny's right at the beginning. He wants to get that core of people so then he can get a referral thing going, because he's, but he's just in that kind of grinding, getting started, first few steps.
Sure. Yeah. Like Eric said, I would go back to last week when I pontificated at length about finding your niche. We had a friend who recently said she had this great saying that was the riches are in the niches. which I loved. So just really find out what your thing is that you can connect with people on. So just a couple things that we're full right now, but when we were really pounding the pavement really hard, that worked for us was just really just talking to tons of people. It sounds like that's already on your list to do, but really, if you can get your what you're passionate about down and get people excited when they're talking to you, then they'll be excited. If parent groups aren't really your thing, like us, we get tagged in a lot of parent groups, and it's usually not a great fit. I will say we are good with tweens, though. I forgot to mention that last week. Tweens and adults weirdly work well with us. But sorry, I've got like a really loud jet going over my house now. Is it too loud? We good? So neighborhood groups have worked well for us. If you have any like different Facebook groups of different neighborhoods, that normally we can post stuff there, or if you go and just search in the search function for specific instruments, like I'll go on neighborhood groups sometimes and just search guitar and then see who's been posting about wanting guitar lessons or things like that. So that's usually pretty great, and that will often get us, even if it wasn't the original poster that writes us back, normally someone else will see us and be like, oh, that's what I've been wanting. So that's pretty cool. One thing too is, do you have any friends that own businesses, or do you have any just businesses that you frequent a lot that would recognize you, we like to go into different businesses and give them stickers as our big thing. So we leave just piles of stickers all over town, and then it's really funny because I'll run into people and they'll have like one of our stickers on their water bottle, and I'll be like, oh, where'd you get that? And they'll be like, oh, this is really cool sticker I got at the chocolate bar. And I'll be like, oh, that's our studio. And they'll be like, oh my God.
Really? Has that happened?
Yeah, a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we have, I'll grab some here in a minute and show them to you, but we have a friend that's an illustrator that draws these little instruments doing cute things, and people just decorate their stuff with them. And if any of you, if I've chatted with you before, we do these sip and strum classes for adults that have been pretty popular, and we partner with tasting rooms and things like that. And then that's, by partnering with other people, you get this kind of built-in marketing, because then they're pushing it out for you too. So we have these little stickers of like a guitar wielding a wine bottle and funny stuff like that kind of speaks to people. I know that that's a whole thing, but even if you had a sticker with your logo, I don't know, it seems like if people have a thing that then they can do something with it, it has worked better for us than just having a card that they, feel obligated to, like, I don't know, what am I going to do with this card? Yeah.
And so do you guys generate any kind of content? Do you guys do a blog? Do you do video? And if so,
actually, I wanted to mention that, Lenny, you mentioned that you want to have your videos on your blog. I would recommend also putting those videos on YouTube and then like linking them back to your blog, like to find out more, because then you're building those backlinks and it's telling Google that this is important content. And I feel like that's kind of like a scam. Like you're just like, look, I'm making it important myself, but that's awesome. So we do have a blog that we haven't used very much, but generally we I record anytime I'm going to do something for a student, I put it on YouTube. And even if I make it like a private link or just like a view only kind of thing, I still put it on YouTube so we get more traffic. Or if it's general enough, like I try not to be like, hey, Eric, I'm recording this violin lick for you. I just try to be like, here's this violin lick in G, check it out. And then I put it on YouTube, and it doesn't apply to most people, but we've gotten emails from all over being like, hey, can you post part 2? And I'm like, people were watching? Oh my God. So I just try not to put too much thought into it and just push out content. All I do is trim off the beginning and the end where I'm like grabbing the camera, and that's about as much video magic as I put in there. So we just try to capitalize on anything that we're already doing for the studio, and also put it on YouTube. And we have a big Instagram account too. Sorry, that just ended. We get an Instagram.
Got it. That's great. Andrea, do you do content out for students? Or, I mean, I know you generate a lot of content for your podcast.
Yeah, not right now, because I'm not trying to get students at the moment. I'm kind of rebranding my studio. But I do. Well, I was going to ask a follow-up question. Who is your target student, Lenny? Do you have a sense of that?
Yeah, sorry, I was actually just going to look up your podcast. I was looking at the chat. My website, my homepage is really geared towards young people. I would say if you went to my website, you'd see probably people from the ages of like 7 to 18. But I'm super attracted to adults as well. It's just I've never really done this before, and I don't know what my opportunities are going to be locally yet. But I think if you were to ask me if I could choose, all things being equal, I think I would have a lot more fun with people my age because, or people that were adults, because that's what I spent my whole career doing was teaching people on the job. And so, maybe they were 16, 17 years old, but they're still working as an adult. And so I think, I've always done that. Looking forward to working with kids, and I love mentoring and coaching, and I've done a lot of mentoring for college students before. So I want to just my mentality is kind of like kids first, but right now I'm kind of open to everything.
It's so interesting, Lenny, too, that, we talked about this last week, and that Angie mentioned that her website was often at first was incongruent with their niche, which was they had all these pictures of kids on their website and then wanted to teach adults. So, as you go, it's a really good follow-up question too, Andrea, is that, you're going to want to, as you go, you don't know who your first client's going to be because you're kind of just throwing it all out there and trying to see what sticks. But you'll probably, want to adjust on the fly, especially if you can get, into a niche of teaching people your age, like you were saying, or people that were getting into it, and all this, as we kind of move down the line a little bit, Cori, I don't know. Last time I talked to you, you were talking about Cori's a really successful piano teacher who's looking at perhaps doing a move in the near future to, I think you're maybe thinking about going to Oregon or something, right? Mm-hmm. And so hopefully there's some ideas here that, did I just say ideas? I go to Virginia for like 2 days and I come back, I'm like, okay, we got some ideas for you guys. Sorry, my southern roots just come popping out. But as far as focusing, jumping into a new town, getting something new and started, hopefully that can help your lead time. How's that going? You want to just tell us about yourself and what's going on really quick?
Yeah, so I live in California now in the Bay Area, and I am trying to move to Oregon, but my case is tied up in courts because custody issues. And my hearing is next Tuesday. So fingers crossed that it goes my way. And after that hearing, then I can start to actually make some decisions and think about, whether I'm stuck here in California or if I can actually take my whole family and move. So I have 3 kids, and so yeah, what I have in my head is that I'll, hopefully if I can even just take 10 of my students that I have now, I have about 28 students right now. If I could just get 10 of them to agree to doing online lessons, that'll get me started with a little bit of income. I can probably still charge them the same I've been charging them, which is going to be more than I'm going to be able to charge in Oregon. So that would be a good start. And then I already have like all my friends from high school and stuff who are moms with young kids. And I'm like, make sure you guys tell all your friends about me and all of that. So I'm hoping that I'll get a good word of mouth thing going quickly. My mom is taking her garage. She has an art studio in there that she's not really using. And so today they're actually cleaning it all out and they're going to let me use it as a piano studio, which will be nice and a new thing for me because I'm a travel teacher exclusively right now. So I'll have to learn how to be a stay in one place all day kind of teacher, which I'm a little afraid of doing that, but it'll probably be fine. But then hopefully I want to try to maybe bring in some preschool classes that I can do during the day. So I can kind of free up some of the afternoon hours so I can be with my kids.
Get a life.
Sort of my general idea. We'll see what actually happens, but.
Well, it sounds like you got a great plan. Like if you can just keep a handful of your students to keep you floating, and you have friends and family in this new place you're going to, and are you going to Bend? Is that right?
Bend, yeah.
And I heard you mention you don't think you'll be able to charge the same thing in Bend that you can.
I definitely won't. I mean, I was looking at I charge $280 a month here, and I was looking at other websites of other piano teachers in Bend, and it's like $100 less than that. And that's a lot. So I'm definitely going to take your advice and charge more than most teachers charge there, but it's a completely different lifestyle in Bend than it is here. Everybody here either has a ton of money or they have none, like me, or they, Bend is a much more like middle class kind of place. The median income in Bend is like $59,000, and the median income here is like $125,000.
Gotcha.
So it's definitely a different demographic of people. So
there'll be an adjustment.
Yeah. And I won't have to, I live in a teeny tiny 2-bedroom apartment here, and I pay $2,500 a month. And if I'm in Bend, I can get a 3-bedroom house with a yard and a garage, and I'm going to be paying maybe $1,800 a month for that. So
yeah, that's a big quality of life.
The cost of living is much different in Bend than it is here. So.
And so when you dive in there, you feel like you'll have word of mouth, you have family, you have friends. I mean, that's what you just have to you have to will that to happen, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all sending you good moving vibes.
It's optimistic, I'm hoping that it'll be easier. It probably will be harder than I want it to be, but I'm willing to jump in and take up the challenge. I might need to learn a little bit more about marketing if word of mouth doesn't spread as quickly as I want it to. So. Got
it. Andrea, how many podcasts have you done on marketing studios? Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them have at least some aspect of marketing. There's one, actually the very first episode I did was which is kind of embarrassing to listen to, but it was about someone who had just moved, and digital marketing was her thing, and her husband happened to be like, that was his background, so he had done Google AdWords and stuff.
Was this Jana?
What's that?
Was that Jana Carlson from Studio Rocket?
No, it's Tasha Love.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's really worth listening to, and she spent money on it, but it was like $300, and then within, I forget, a year, she had 35 students or something. So, or maybe, I don't remember how long it took her to get to 35. But, it's $300 is not very much in the whole scheme of things, even if it seems like a lot to spend in 1 month if you really get your studio built quickly. A couple things I was just going to mention, like Cori, if you've got an existing network there, that's amazing. And just sending an email to everyone saying, hey, I'm coming back. I'm going to be teaching piano. Keep me in mind if you're interested or anyone. And just when people know, like someone they trust is teaching music, I don't know, like students just come your way. And Lenny too, I don't know what your network is like in Florida, but if you can think of any person and just send them an email. And I think the personal email is a little more powerful. Like, yes, you can put it on Facebook and that's helpful too, but sending a personal email with someone's name, like, hey, John, just wanted to let you know I'm back in the area and I'm going to be teaching. I think that's tremendously valuable.
Yeah, I'm totally new in this area, so it's kind of fun, but at the same time, it is hard to get traction. I wanted to just kind of quickly add to my answer. You asked about my ideal student or whatever, and I started reading the Savvy Music Teacher book. Thanks, Eric, for the heads up on that one. And of course, it immediately gets into, why are you doing this? And as I'm writing my blog, I wanted to tell my story, and kind of, let people get to know me through my writing and, my passion. And, it's really great when you realize that the reason you're doing is because something that happened to you a long time ago that really changed your life. And for me, I'm a third generation guitarist. I have a video of me when I'm 2 years old getting a guitar and picking it up left-handed. I play left-handed now, but it's like, watching that now, it's just, at 2 years old. So when I got to 6th grade and was excited to join band class, there was no guitar. They said, do you want the clarinet or the trumpet? And it's fun. I had this conversation with Nathan, I think, earlier this week, but So, I kind of survived band class for 4 years, and it wasn't until I got kind of through high school and through sports that I picked up the guitar, and I'm totally self-taught. There was really not a lot of, so I don't want any, part of the reason I'm doing this is I want to be there for a sixth grader, handing them a guitar, and not making them switch an instrument that probably is going to kill their passion for music. So hopefully that's maybe kind of the complete answer of what I was trying to get into before, but maybe that all ties into what we're talking about of your content, your strategy, and your targets, and all that of kind of what is the source of your purpose and your passion when it comes to that.
Well, Lenny, that's awesome. And from what you just said, you could create a very succinct strategy, right? And what Andrea was saying, which was awesome, is like what she was keying on is that Cori is basically, by just coming from where she's from and knowing people, she's basically already got a brand, right? Which is different than marketing, but there's a brand that Cori is known as a musician and people know who she is through a network, and you don't have that yet, right? So you have to build your brand, right? And I think what you just said is you want to deal with middle schoolers and help them, and that, because it resonated with me, because that's my specialty. It's like I can take middle school kids, and they might not be the greatest guitar players, but I can generally spit out pretty well adjusted and happy high school seniors that go off into the world. And my guarantee to all my students is I say, look, here's the deal. I know that school's kind of sucks, but you got to trust me. When you're a freshman in college, you're going to message me. It's going to be 2 a.m. You're going to be walking home from your dorm or back to another dorm, and you're going to have just met some new friends because of this instrument and the fact that you can play, right? And you're going to connect on this music that people in your hometown didn't like, that you've learned. You're like, oh my gosh, you know who Tom Waits is? That's amazing. And you're going to text me and you're going to say, thanks, Branner. That was awesome. And it happens every year where kids actually text me in the middle of the night, they're like, Branner, it totally worked. And your strategy and that's what drives me. But if your strategy is to take kids at that age and inform them, then that's a real different thing, right? Who's your customer then? Who you're looking for? You need to find the parents of middle schoolers, right? They're your customers, right? And so you have to get you're kind of back into that thing of like, where are people with 5th through 8th grade children, where are they getting information from, right? Which is kind of a different thing than what I would have assumed from when you first said, which is you want to teach people your own age, right? Which that's a different thing. That's going around and shaking hands. And so it'll be interesting to see kind of which way, which direction you go on that. I want to just kind of quickly parlay for everybody that has one, and Nathaniel's here too, is I know we talked about thumbtacks and take lessons, but a quick plug, the Fons marketplace profiles that are just in there, the reason those get killer SEO because we acquired a company a couple years ago called Learning Musician, right? And it was a database of like 23,000 music teachers in the early 2000s. And we kind of rolled that into the platform. It's just kind of like, hey, this will help out. But Nathaniel, if you type in like trumpet lessons in Seattle, he's on like page 1 in a major market, right? He's got it dialed in. So Cori, if you're thinking about moving to Bend, you might want to change your marketplace to, piano lessons in Bend and change your SEO titles on that and have that re-indexed, which we can do that for you.
I haven't set it up yet, so I'll
Dude, well,
I'll figure it out.
Nathaniel, if you want to just say hi really quick, I know you're at a Starbucks. I can tell by that background, but he is a wizard at getting in the marketplace profiles look awesome, and the people just contact you directly through them, right? So it's not like Thumbtack or something where there's a wall. It's just you put your information on it, you put your website on it. They can email you through it if you want to be more, if you want to have a little bit of separation, or they can contact you directly. Can you say hi, Nate?
Yeah, hey guys, how's it going? Yeah, I was talking to Lenny about this the other day too, and honestly, if you ever need a chance to work on that, just let me know. I get really good results by using the free Google business pages in tandem with my marketplace. So I don't have a web page or anything. I'm not really looking for new students, but I still get an inquiry about lessons, probably about 1 a month. Ever since I set it up. So, I mean, had 2 or 3 lessons. It's already paid for my earphones, 2 on the back end. So that's nice. But yeah, if you ever need help with it, I've got a ton of ideas and just like dialing it in, bumping the SEO up a whole bunch.
Yes, and Nathaniel's when you guys all write in, Nathaniel's one of the people that you talk to, and he's awesome. So thanks, Nathaniel. Andrea, you said you had 40 minutes. Do you have to jump? If you do, it's totally okay.
No, I'm okay. I'm gonna eat my lunch during my next Skype meeting.
Okay, I'm so sensitive to the world you're in right now. You've got a lot of juggling going on.
That. The baby's at the babysitter today, so I kind of feel like I have a little bit of space. But...
Oh God, you have your operationals just down, huh?
Yeah, I'm figuring it out.
Well, cool. Well, everybody, this is kind of a good time of the day. If anybody, often we take an idea, we throw it out. I love what we talked about marketing. I can't wait to go back through this and kind of pull some of these gems out. Lenny, that was so great that path we took of you're like, oh, this and that, and then Andrea had this idea, and then Angie had these ideas, and then I would hope that there was some focus that came out of that, because I felt some focus in my heart that I was like, oh, this is what you should be doing. And if you're doing authentic work and you're finding that, that niche of being like, oh, that's the thing I want to do, you'll get success a lot more quickly. But we have time, and I thought maybe it'd be cool if anybody has a project they're working on, or a question they have just about anything, or a conversation. It'd be great. I have 1 million if you don't, but I thought it might be fun to kind of open it up if anybody has something in their heart and minds that they'd like to chat about. Anybody? Nobody? Everybody's just send out?
I like the most in there. So one thing you were mentioning, talking about the reflection and trying to figure out your niche and everything. This is not super important, but I was at Seattle University a few years ago doing a master's degree, and they have a big focus on Jesuit practices as part of stuff, and that's not who I am, but one big part of it is self-reflection. So daily writing down self-reflection, not quite a journal, literally about, what are my goals, who am I, what do I want out of life, what do I want to be to others in my life, and just try to hash that out over time, track how it changes a little bit. I thought that was a really good thing. I learned how to do that. And I highly recommend it to anybody too, just being able to just literally put it on paper or type it out, what, day to day, what's working for you, what are your thoughts, where are you going. It really helps, motivation wise, but also just to keep you centered, keep you grounded a little bit, so you're not kind of losing yourself in the weeds of running this business and doing the 30 million things with 30 different clients, other students. So something that's really it's a great practice to just try and keep yourself focused, but also self-motivated. Just something I was thinking out there. I don't know if anyone has thoughts or some similar things that they work on or do in their day-to-day.
Yeah. Who's got an awesome day-to-day practice? Anybody? Wait, am I muted? Am I stuck?
No, you're not muted. No, you're good.
Yeah, that's I would, and even taking that a step further. I mean, I'm sure. Do all of you guys keep a journal and do your daily to-do list and your goals and all that stuff? I'm assuming so. Seems like a pretty with it bunch. Angie, no, they don't do that in Idaho.
Yeah, I can't recommend it enough.
Blame the baby for everything. At any moment that I'm not working, I'm kiddo wrangling. But yeah, you were talking day-to-day operations. That I think for a goal for this year, my partner Marcus and I are trying to streamline those operations, and kind of visioning and journaling would probably help with that. So good suggestions.
Yeah, honestly, and I almost try to make a practice of keeping it separate from work necessarily, just because when you have yourself centered and you know what you're about, it just kind of makes the work part happen, which is really great. That's my favorite part about it.
Is everyone pretty familiar with stack ranking? Does everybody know what that concept is? Angie, Cori, have you heard that before?
No.
Might be a pretty tech specific term.
Yeah, stack ranking. Does everybody use Trello? Does everybody have Trello?
I've used it briefly in the past when I worked for a chiropractor, but he was not my favorite person, and I quit that job really quick.
Got it. Well, so here's a really interesting thing to kind of take away from that is that, working in technology as a musician has taught me so much about how I approach learning music and teaching music. And for one, the co-founder of Fons is this guy Jared Ray, who is an absolute household name in Silicon Valley, and he he was one of those kids. He's from Idaho. When he was 18, Microsoft flew him up here and like put him in charge of all this huge cloud and computing stuff. He had a ton of startups, all very successful. But he is also, as a co-founder, he's been on me about how I use the moments that I have, and then taught me all these tricks about when in doing a huge project, when you're in the middle of a huge project, and every single moment of your day is really critical about how you use it, is stack ranking all your tasks based on their importance, their efficacy. Lenny, yours was a great example. You have all these tasks that you're doing and you're really enjoying doing, right? But if you were to reevaluate how you spend every moment of your day, and right now, it seems like you're doing a lot of stuff that's very long tail, right? You're building, you're trying to build your brand, get to know people, where really it sounds like maybe the thing you need to spend your time doing is just grinding, getting out there and meeting people. What is the most important task that you can do? And so what I do every single day is I have everything I have to do, which is usually between 20 to 100 things for work. And I do one for music too, and I do one for my personal life actually, which is that, and I make sure they're stack ranked. Does this have to be done today? Because there's something that's an emergency that has to be done, or which one's the most important one with whatever goal I have set right now, right? And so Lenny, perhaps your goal is just to get a handful of really pumped middle school students into your studio, right? And that goal is stepped, meaning you really need to get your business in front of parents of middle school students. So really your goal is to get visibility and brand recognition to parents of middle school students. So, what tasks are going to be getting you there? Angie's at a point where she wants to just keep dialing it in to run her business better and make her, improve her quality of life. Cori's getting ready for a life move. She, has to juggle multiple things at a time to understand, to be like, okay, is this going to be, I have two options that could be coming my way, right? So, which one is most important? And Andrea, you've got a million things going on. How do you manage it all, Andrea? I mean, you've got, share your wisdom. I know you've got lots of tricks.
Yeah, so I'm a GTD person. If anyone's read Getting Things Done by David Allen.
Totally.
Yeah. And I've got, criticisms of the method too, but daily to-do lists and weekly reviews, and weekly reviewing like the higher level, stepping back, what's on my list that's important, what's on my list that can go, because it's easy to get a lot of just useless stuff on my list. I recently added a task to my to-do list that just says do something meaningful, and like, am I doing something that really matters every day, like really moves my business forward, not just cleaning out my inbox or sorting that stack of papers, but like doing the actual meaningful, usually hard, scary, uncomfortable thing. That's been really helpful, just to make sure I see that task like throughout the day, and making sure I keep my focus on the meaningful things.
I love your vibe. That's so good. What is something that means meaningful to you? Because did you guys see Tim Ferriss's big thing at the end of the year about, instead of doing New Year's resolutions, doing the past year review? It was a great blog. I'll post it, but it's like the idea of just what you're saying, reviewing what you're doing in the last year, and knowing those moments that you're being, for me, I am compelled with the moment Lenny's talking about with helping people. That's what makes me happy, right? And those are the moments when you said meaningful, like just doing for others without expectation. That's like the Gary V model, which is you do without expectation, which I think is a great one-liner. And that's where we end up finding happiness and meaning. When you said meaningful, do you usually mean like something like spiritually meaningful, or something that's like just getting your projects done, moving them ahead, having them be more successful?
It can be both. Like, yeah, sometimes it's, I spent time today with a friend that really needed that time. And like, it's things that are, move, I guess, my personal vision forward, or are on track with my personal vision. Like the big, what do I want my life to mean at the end? And so it can mean spending time with a friend that I maybe didn't plan on spending, the time. It can mean doing the thing that, like, sending the email that is kind of intimidating to, move the business forward. it can mean, yeah, a lot of different things. So sometimes it's actually doing nothing is more meaningful, or like, yeah, just when I had a million things on my list and I decided to sit down and journal for 15 minutes, like, yeah, anything. But making sure there's something that really, like, when you've done something that matters and when you spent the day doing things that didn't matter, like, you can feel that, or I can feel that anyway, at the end of the day. I'm like, yeah, today was a good day. And so,
Andrew, the reason I asked is, like, when I got to know you, and it just really made an impression on me, is that when we first met, I was on your podcast, but you were in the middle of moving, right? And you were like going through a huge life change. And I was like, wow, you seem so collected and balanced and just kind of like getting it done, but you didn't seem like that. Like, I feel like I usually fall apart in big moments like that. And I was so impressed by it. So.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Vision is a big focus of mine, like having a very clear vision. In fact, I was thinking of doing a webinar on visioning, kind of as it pertains to business, just keeping it focused and short. But when you don't know, you're not clear on your vision, it's really hard to make decisions in everyday life. And so that is a big thing to me, being clear on that and spending time getting clear on the vision, so I can get through my day-to-day.
Yeah, it's like that feeling when you're walking through your house to just go do something, and you see some dishes and you're like, well, I'll just do those first. And you were walking to just go, like, get your computer and write down a blog post or something like that. And you're like, well, I'm going to throw this load of laundry in really quick. And you're like, I have to make the kids a snack. And you've just gone, whoa, all over the place. I feel like in day-to-day vision, it's hard to just hold on to it and do what you need to do. Hi, Mike. I see you're strapped up and you just dropped in to visit.
Yeah, I sure did.
It's really nice to see you. Mike's the unofficial king of New York City.
Say that again?
The unofficial king of New York City. Welcome.
Yeah. Well, Andrea, thank you so much, because you just answered my lifelong question. Why are decisions so hard to make? No, but all kidding aside, I used to have a terrible time making decisions, like, all my life, and I've only been very good at, much better at doing them the last year or two. I guess they'll just get stronger and easier to make with a stronger vision. Yeah. I believe you is what I'm saying. I believe it, and I believe you.
Mike, you're a man with a ton of vision and connections and contacts. Yeah, man. I love seeing the content you make and your adventures. Well, we're just about out of time. Again, we have a moment if anybody has anything they'd like to share or they'd like to discuss. But if not, we can kind of wrap things up. Mike, how are you doing? Are you good?
All is well.
We didn't hear from you yet today. We had a little bit of a looser structure, but it was really cool. And we talked about a bunch of marketing and lifestyle and branding and stuff like that, and got to just kind of hear from everybody. You want to tell us what you're doing really quick? Kind of close us up for the day in the world?
Sure. So I just came back to New York City from a 3-week vacation, which I needed, because I've been in Manhattan for like the last 15 months straight, something like that. And now I'm debating whether I should. I only just found out. I'm kind of embarrassed to say I just found out about NAM. I knew about it, but I didn't know that it's happening this weekend. So now I'm debating whether I should go for Friday and Saturday. So I don't know if you guys have experience with that, and it'd be my first time if I went, but I'm kind of down for it.
Do it. It's fun. You'd love it. You're a schmoozer. You'd have a great time.
Schmoozer? What's that?
Schmoozer is someone that likes to chat with people and connect. A schmoozer. Yeah. Is that a real word? Yeah, schmoozer. Yeah, I think that is. Mm-hmm.
Isn't that like what life is all about? Schmoozing?
Yeah, you're a textbook schmoozer. Yeah, big time. Yeah, you should go. Yeah, if you can. It's a good time. Well, it was great to see you. Lenny, did you have something you wanted to say, or was that Angie?
If if y'all can see me, I thought I'd show you our stickers. If you can see these, we've got these little illustrations. These are the ones we leave all over town. We got our little banjo here. We've got our little ukulele with its little pina colada, sipping its coconut, and then my favorite is this guitar drinking its wine.
That's adorable. Are those clear or white backed?
White backed. Yeah, so they've been pretty popular. It's kind of like everyone's like, oh, which one do I pick? And then I think that even though they're pretty silly illustrations, since they're kind of boozy, it says adults, but it's fun because we have like 6 or 7 different instrument designs and just kind of pepper different ones all over town. And,
where do you order them from?
Just Sticker Mule.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we have a friend who draws them for us. But just throwing out a plug for some unconventional marketing strategies. That's been something that we didn't think would be so popular, but we actually just stopped ordering business cards and went exclusively to stickers.
Got it.
That's cool.
Got it. Do you think? Can I ask you guys a question that's totally unrelated? Do you guys ever listen to the radio? Do you listen to NPR? Or do you listen to like your local independent station? Is it something that you do? Is that kind of a unanimous? Not you.
I
Andrew?
don't. I don't. Possibly to my detriment. I don't know.
No.
We run an ad on our public radio station, and sometimes get folks that contact us through that, and it's pretty cool since it's it's our local independent station, so it's a nonprofit. So even if we don't get like a ton of traction, but it makes us feel good for giving them our money and supporting local music, and so that attracts people that obviously care about local music. So that's been cool, just to throw out a radio plug.
Yeah, because I just in a separate world, in a separate universe, it's as from the perspective of Fons, it's like we hate it stinks having to use Facebook and Google for your marketing budgets, right? And it would be so cool to be like, I don't know if you guys know what KEXP is, or like NPR, or like local classical stations. And I keep thinking, it would be, I don't know how effective they are anymore for, maybe branding, maybe for, just getting the word out, except that I just think it's really cool. So that's something we'll test in the next week or two, or in the next quarter, and I'll tell you how it works. But it's interesting that you got a little bit of traction there, Angie.
Andrea, I'm assuming that's the way to pronounce your name. Is that right?
My parents call me Andrea, but I think they might have been pronouncing it wrong my whole life. So whatever you want is fine.
Well, I'm pretty good at, saying names, so perhaps they may, anyway. But question about vision, what literature would you recommend to get enlightened on the topic?
Oh, I don't know if there's like a specific resource that I have really benefited from. It's almost just more time, like spending time with yourself in your own thoughts, and which is way more daunting than going through a checklist. I think reflecting on the question of what would my fill in the blank look like if it turned out really well? What would my studio look like if it turned out really well? What would my kid look like? What would my career look like? What would my life look like? What would my house look like? I think that question.
Whoa, that's good. That's a good one. And just meditate on that. Yeah.
And revisit it every so often, every quarter or year. And
do you ever get disappointed when you don't? When you there's also a side of it, that was like, and I struggle with that too, where you look at your vision, your goal, and when they don't come true, I had a long time with my music career, right? Accepting that I wasn't going to be like a concert classical guitar player because my hands weren't working because I had arthritis or whatever. And I had to change my direction. And there's that, I guess when that first went down, I was like, gosh, should I even have made these big dreams and these goals that I worked really hard at?
Yes. Yes. The answer is yes.
Yeah, because it opens up different doors. I guess that the end result of the vision isn't necessarily the goal as much as just staying in that space of growth and positivity and moving forward, right? to becoming a better person. I don't know.
Yeah, and I remember, well, this stuck out in my interview with you, Eric, where I thought Eric's vision, like I think a vision is much bigger than a goal. It's like the thing that guides your whole life, really. And I remember you just talked about mentorship and one-on-one, like that kind of thing was like your thing. And I'm like, Eric can be a mentor his entire life. He can do it with no arms, you know, like that's something that just goes on no matter what, that is a thing that you're going to do.
I second that.
So I'm glad thank you. And I'm glad we clarified that vision doesn't have to be so concrete, right?
Mm-hmm.
That the vision's more of a,
I almost think of it as like intentionally unattainable because it's got to always be out there. Like you can always see it. You never quite get there, and that's okay because it's too big. It's not a checkbox.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Great question, Mike. I'm glad you asked that. And Andrea, thanks for sharing that perspective. Friends, we gotta wrap it up. I appreciate you being here so much. These are so awesome. We've recorded it. We'll go ahead and get the transcript and edit it down in the next couple days. But I really appreciate your being here. Please, when I do this post, Andrea, put your, I want to do a plug for your podcast, but I also want to plug I want to see your finance course, and I want to do a plug for it because, oh my gosh, as someone that works with hundreds of musicians every day, I'm like, come on, every resource that we can get to get this thing dialed in, I want to see what you're doing.
Yeah, I'd love to share with you.
Thank you all so much for coming. If there's anything you want to follow up with, feel free to email me or just give me a call or whatever, and I'll hope to see you guys again soon.
Thanks so much, Eric.
Killer, guys. Have a great day. Thank you. See you later.
Thanks, Eric. Bye.
Bye-bye.